Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and the topic we're going to cover today was actually brought up to me in one of the comments in one of the videos I made previously, where JT, one of the subscribers here to the channel, wanted me to talk about the idea of how to deal with neighbors who don't prepare during SHTF. Now, that being said, not all of us live in neighborhoods, and not all of our neighbors might be your stereotypical neighbor as if it's Mr. Rogers or your average suburban environment, but we still have people who live in proximity to us, whether that's 100 acres away or if it is just 1 block away or even just 10 feet away. There's a lot of different forms of neighbors, and I would say for the most part, 95% of Americans don't prepare. There is a prepper mentality in about 5% of the population, which is still a lot of people. But when it comes to a neighborhood, if you think about it in that sense, only 1 out of every 20 homes actually prepares for more than just your average emergency, then you're talking about a lot of households near you or right next to you that don't have any preparations or survival plans for anything larger than your possible rolling blackout or something like that, which we just saw recently in New York. So, how do you deal with those neighbors? They're obviously people that you at least have interacted with at least once or twice, and also people that you've probably at least seen, but a lot of us nowadays barely even see or interact with our neighbors at all. It's a mentality that especially people in the prepper community try to get away from, but it's difficult because it's not just you who's not trying to interact with your neighbors, it's the other people as well, your neighbors. Very many people these days are reclusive. They have social anxiety. They stay inside their homes more than they go out. And when they are out, they try not to interact with too many people that they don't know because of the possible social reaction they might have by speaking with those people. It's very difficult for some people to reach out. Most of us are becoming introverts thanks to the internet, and it's hard for people to communicate or build communities with people that they don't know. So many neighbors are not affiliated, and many neighbors don't have that support system in place like there used to be many years ago. That being said, if you're the prepper on your street, how do you separate yourself from that group of people, and what do you do with those people once the time comes? And that's a big topic because everyone's going to have a different approach based on their action plan and based on who their neighbors are and what kind of a neighborhood you live in. If you live in an apartment building, your neighbors are very close to you and you have a lot of them. If you live in a house like mine, where there's about 10 other houses nearby and everyone has a little bit of a piece of property, there's not so many neighbors, and most of us are a little bit more self-sufficient because we're used to having space and kind of believing in the idea that we're on our own out here. So no one is used to calling the cops or asking for help to get a lot of things done. We just take care of ourselves and take care of our own problems. If there is a issue with some kind of a wild animal, the neighborhood takes care of it. We don't call animal control. Now, that being said, some of you live on giant homesteads where you don't have a neighbor for over a mile, and that's amazing. And I wish I could do that, to be honest with you. But in that situation, your neighbors are a little bit further away. So when they come knocking, it might be even more imperative to figure out how you're going to handle it because they probably haven't come knocking until it became very important for them to do so. So how do you handle the 95% of people who don't prepare if they're your neighbor? First off, I think networking and meeting with these people is very important. Try to build community, try to be social with those who live right next to you, and let them know that you have their back if they have your back. If there's an emergency, you can call the cops or call the fire department and try to get them some help. And the same would be, reciprocated in return. If we go on vacation, we let our neighbors know we're going to be gone, so they know that there shouldn't be other random vehicles in our driveway. There shouldn't be any issues going on with our lights going on and off or any of that kind of stuff. And if we have people we're expecting, like one of my friends who watched our dogs for us recently, we want them to know that that person is expected so they don't think something fishy is happening when it's not. And the same goes for them. If they ever leave town, they can let us know. We can watch their property for them and make sure nothing's going on. And those are the kind of relationships you have to start with. So that way, when SHTF happens, you have a little bit more leeway with these people to be able to say, hey, let me help you out. I think I got an extra bag of rice or maybe a bag of flour I can lend you, and hopefully we can get through this thing. But if you're running low again, come see me. We'll see what I got left. There's still no reason to give away your OPSEC and let everyone know on your block that, hey, I'm the prepper of the neighborhood. I got guns, ammo, food, all kinds of awesome stuff. You want to find me if things go down, and we'll make it happen. Do not do that because honestly, you don't know all your neighbors 100%. And at the same time, you don't want them to come to you in their moment of most desperation with this idea that you're going to be their savior or that they're going to come pillage your home because of all the things you've talked about having in the past. You have to have a lot of trust with these people if you're going to bring them into your preps and share a lot of your rations and your survival items with them, and especially your space. Let's say you're in a wildfire, like we used to live in California. There was always wildfires, and easily our neighbors might have had to come stay with us or something like that, depending on what happened to their home. Well, we don't want those people in our personal space if we don't have to, but if they're going to be there, let's make sure that we have these people vetted and we know them very well, okay? Now, when those neighbors come knocking, here's the big thing you have to kind of think about. What am I going to do? What are you going to do when that neighbor knocks on your front door and says, hey man, things are going nuts and I'm out of water, we don't have any food, you got to help me, okay? You have to prepare for that now so you can make a logical, very well thought out plan of how you're going to react to those situations, and make sure you either A, don't escalate the situation to make it much worse, or B, use excessive force when it's not necessary. Those are two things that as preppers we always have to kind of consider. A, we always have a lot of security, so excessive force can be an issue. And B, if you're not planning on a good logical response to some of these scenarios, what you say might cause a scenario to spiral out of control, and then you just found yourself being attacked or having your family held hostage or who knows what else, because you were the one who kind of escalated and got angry when you didn't realize you were outnumbered because the whole neighborhood was surrounding your home rather than just your one neighbor knocking on the door. So you want to always have a plan. And for us, what I can share with you is we have a relationship with our two closest neighbors. They are very nice people. They're very humble. They seem like they're the type of people I can trust. They have jobs that would kind of allude you to thinking they're trustworthy people, and they have skills that would definitely be coming in handy if there's an SHTF scenario. However, I don't know them as well as I know some of my friends or my colleagues, and that being said, I wouldn't just invite them over or expect them to stay with us during SHTF, but I might lend them out a bag of flour because it keeps them kind of off of you a little bit, right? So some of my contingency plans for the neighbors when they come knocking is to have a couple of excess items of food. And what I mean by that is bags of rice, bags of flour, something like that. So when they knock on the door and they don't have supplies, I can be generous enough to kind of send them on their way, but not lose out on any of my storage by doing so. And that's something that you should kind of have planned out already, either for trade or for basically pacifying a possible threat. And that's kind of like what we do in this country when it comes to welfare and stuff like that. If you give people a little bit, it kind of keeps them calm for the time being, and you don't have to worry about the possible riots that are going to ensue afterward, right? So you give these people a little bit, it keeps them happy for a short amount of time, but in the meantime, you get to plan more and decide how you're going to react if they do come back a little bit more aggressive next time. I also have an idea of always having a way to protect myself on me when I interact with these people. And whether or not I care about their feelings towards my defensive positioning doesn't matter, because in this scenario, survival is all that matters. So you're never going to answer your door unarmed. You're never going to answer the door without the idea in the back of your head that someone's going to try to force their way in. And you're never going to answer the door without thinking it might be a trap. It's very easy in an SHTF scenario to imagine your neighbors being looted or pillaged in the middle of the night, right? These people are put up, tied up, held hostage, and they say, I know your neighbors have stuff, we've been watching them too. I'm going to use you to get into their home. And that's a big possibility. They might bring those people over, hold them at gunpoint, and say, go up to the front door, knock on the door, tell them you need help. And then as soon as they open that front door, we're busting in. And that can happen. That's how a lot of home invasions start. Not necessarily by using the hostage neighbor as a way in, but either using someone you know or somebody who looks like someone you have to answer the door for, aka a solicitor, or maybe somebody who works for the power company, is knocking on the door, has a clipboard. You feel a sense of trustworthiness with that person's professional appeal, and you open the door for them, and then the home invasion begins. So, never answer the door unarmed, and always be prepared for the idea that this could be the time someone tries to force their way in. And guess what? You got to know how you're going to react to that. And I guarantee you, I know how I'm going to react to that. And I very much think that a lot of us in the prepper community definitely know how we're going to act to that. So make sure you have that preparation in the back of your mind, because if you're already going to just answer your door anytime the neighbors come by, that's a security threat and you got to be careful. At the same time, prepare for yourself and your family. Extra preps can be used as pacification devices, but that's all you should count on them for. And once you get to a certain point and they come back and ask for more, you have to set your foot down and say, generally probably a lie, that you don't have anything. There's nothing else here, and I don't have anything else for you, so I need you to just stop coming by. And if they don't want to listen to that, make sure you have a way of making them understand that you mean business. And what I mean by that is when you open the door, make sure there's something with you that says you mean business. Because I know that I have a few items here in my home that would definitely let somebody know whatever I'm saying is what I mean right now. And I think that you all know what I'm talking about. So make sure you prepare for this inevitability. If SHTF is something you're prepping for and you believe it's going to happen the same way I do, then you know your neighbors can either be a support system or a security threat. And you have to basically prepare for both of those options to possibly cross into each other's territories. And I honestly believe that most of our neighbors in our neighborhood are good people, but I can't trust all of them with my family's lives or my life. And I'm not going to risk any of us because I decided they seem like nice people. And please don't do that to yourself either. It's not your job to prepare or build preps or storage for everybody else in the entire neighborhood. But if you have a little extra, it can go a long ways in keeping people calm for a little bit longer to give you more time to decide whether or not you have to deal with an existential threat in a way that you might have to, or if you're going to bug out and leave the property and hopefully do it under cover of darkness and not let your neighbors see. Because the last thing you need them to do is go take over your home and start rampaging through your items or living in your house, and then you decide there's a plan B situation where you have to come back, and next thing you know, you can't even get back in your own home. That being said, I try my best to believe that most neighbors in most neighborhoods are decent people. I think the average person is a decent person, but in SHTF, people can change very quickly and things can happen overnight. And if I am desperate for water or food for my family, it means that my priority list of what's important is going to change compared to what it used to be. And I think you all agree with that. Nobody here is going to risk their family or give up the idea of supporting their children over the fact that somebody else might need help. And most people are going to quickly turn into somebody who's very selfish and very willing to take what they need versus just trying to help support or prop everyone else up. That being said, get yourself out of neighborhoods if you can. Apartment buildings, I'm sure, are not the best place to be. But if you are in those places, try to establish yourself as part of the community and maybe give yourself a little bit of authority or leadership, kind of an aura, so those people might come to you with, hey, what do we do? Versus coming to you saying, here's what you're going to do. And I think that we all agree that that's a better position to put yourself in. If you guys have any questions or any comments to add, please go ahead and add them below in the box. I want you guys to give me more feedback. Tell me what you think about my thoughts here. Have you had any experiences with your neighbors that would definitely tell you otherwise? Hey, I don't want to trust this guy, or hey, I don't believe this is a good idea. And don't forget, you can actually look up a lot of different offenses online that people have committed and find out who you're living next door to. And that might give you a little bit more insight to whether or not these are the type of people you want around. And SHTF, without rule of law, allows for a lot of people who usually don't follow the law to, break it even more. And you might want to just be a little more vigilant about some of those scenarios. And when I'm talking about that, I think you guys know what I mean. Being a dad, it kind of matters to me a little bit. So I really appreciate all the support the channel is getting so far. Please hit the subscribe button if you like topics on prepping, survivalism, SHTF, firearms, or any of the other good stuff that I like to talk about here. And that's going to be it for Magic.